let's get right into the show. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the next episode of the Irrelevants. We're here with our special guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Jacob Sanford. Thank you for having me.
What is your specialty?
Being present.
Excellent.
That's
the only qualification.
Yes.
that's pretty much our only qualification, and knowing English helps.
Oh yeah.
You can do Mandarin or German as well.
True.
But that'll be a very
That-
you'll basically be talking to one person.
English came
Ich
second
bin
to being
ein
present, actually.
Berliner.
You know what that literally means? I'm a cheese. Danish.
Yeah, he said he's a Danish of some sort.
Yeah. If I had to say Jake was an expert in anything, I'd say it was clothes and picking up girls at Starbucks.
Is that the game? Is that how it works?
It happened one time.
Yeah, but
It happened one time.
That's still infinitely more times than it happened for me.
I mean, by infinite you mean that 0 is infinitely.
Yes.
Then-
yes.
then yes,
Thank you for
one-
explaining the math.
1 is infinitely more than 0, I suppose.
Dude, you remember when that chick gave me her number when we were at that Mexican
dude,
place
yes, I do remember
down
that.
at St. Mary's?
Yeah,
That was really weird.
that was really weird. That was fun though.
Yeah, that was a crazy night.
This girl that gave me her number when going through the Starbucks drive-through. She wrote it on my Starbucks cup.
Through the drive-through?
Yes.
Oh, that's baller. That's
It was baller until she
That's
turned out to
something
be
out
the
of a-
most boring person in the whole world.
that sounds like something out of a shitty sitcom. That's awesome.
It was awesome until she had 0 like conversation skills, unfortunately. Like I don't ask for much, but like if you're giving your number out to somebody and then say I'm shooting my shot, you have to then shoot your shot. You can't just expect the other person to pull the entirety of the conversation.
You would think most of the work was already done.
Yeah.
Like the number on the cup, that's a baller move. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a crazy story. Well, anyways, folks, we just got back from
Iron Age.
Yeah, Iron Age.
Yeah. It's an all-you-can-eat Korean barbecue. You get an hour and a half to eat as much as you want. It's pretty much entirely meat for $20 during lunch, $27 at dinner. It is gluttonous and it is delicious. Like it's not like I know when you say all you can eat, it sounds like low quality crap.
No, this was a classy affair.
High
It was
quality.
yes.
I felt like we were at a cyberpunk bar.
Very
It was
much.
crazy.
Very much.
It was insane.
And I think we probably ate about 5 pounds of meat between all of us.
You
That's
want
a
to say
conservative-
5 pounds each?
Yeah, that 5 pounds is a conservative estimate.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Yeah.
And to think that this may be one of the last times that we're able to get meat for this price. You know?
Yeah,
with the
'cause
way meat prices
inflation's
are going.
working.
Yeah.
it's
Prices
just
are only going to go up.
Inflation
price
in
of
general.
everything.
Yeah.
Inflation's just really high right now. But I mean, that was a delicious meal. I mean, I'm not eating for the next day.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't
that
eat
was-
a day before for the full day beforehand.
Yeah.
and
If I
that
was a
the smart
lizard, I would just
decision.
lay out on a rock for like the next
Dude,
day and a half.
I'm not a lizard, and I want to lay out on a rock.
Dude, that was the first time that me and I think Jake we had Korean barbecue.
Yeah, that was my first time having Korean
mean, like,
barbecue.
Like not from Panera or something.
Yeah, exactly.
It was
not something labeled Korean barbecue flavored or whatever.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
legitimate Korean barbecue.
And I remember, when we first got there, I had to explain to you guys how Korean barbecue works.
yeah
Because for the folks out there who don't live in a weirdly heavily Korean populated area, which is where I live,
Yeah.
The way Korean barbecue works is there's a big like pot of like a sort of a open stove or fire in the center of your table, and they bring you the meats raw, and they put like a grill or a griddle or something like that down, and
Yeah.
they put all the meat on there, and then you just cook it yourself.
yeah.
It- You decide when the meat's done from your perspective.
That's a bold move, letting the Americans cook for themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's honestly makes kind of sense when you think about how many people complain at restaurants about how their food is cooked. So
yeah, that takes
Yeah.
it's completely in the
You can't complain
customer's
about the
hands.
quality of the meat.
Exactly.
It's on point.
And also,
Yeah.
I've never been to a Korean barbecue where they aren't constantly playing K-pop music videos on massive screens.
It worked though.
It-
It,
no,
worked
it-
for the
it-
scene. It,
it's-
was awesome.
It set the vibe
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
Absolutely. It's just like, imagine if you went to like a barbecue place, and everywhere they were constantly playing country music on giant screens.
I mean,
Like
they-
Cracker Barrel.
They kind of are. They're playing country music and then sports on giant screens.
You know, that's actually
it's
a thing. It's
kind
part
of
of the psychological.
Have you ever been to
marketing,
Buffalo Wild
you know?
Wings?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Buffalo Wild Wings.
I'm just gonna say, last time we ate there was not a good experience for me.
What happened? What happened?
I threw up afterwards.
Oh, bad chicken, or
I think
too
I had some
spicy,
bad chicken.
or what
Yeah,
was it?
I think it was
Oh.
some bad chicken.
Okay.
Just probably some undercooked chicken is my guess.
I
'Cause
just-
I tend to like their sauce and like their spices, but man, 2 bites into that Buffalo Wild Wings chicken, something told me it was wrong, and I ended up eating a few more pieces more than I should have after
Ugh.
that. Did not listen to my stomach, and
Well, see, I ate some of your food, and I felt just fine.
I mean,
I
yeah,
think,
you
I
didn't.
think I'm just my stomach is like adapted to low quality food. You know, you
I
live
eat
in the
pretty
shit for
low
long
quality.
enough, you get used to it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, after college life, it was insane to eat things that weren't ramen. You know,
Yeah,
with hot dogs cut up into it for the
Yeah.
extra protein.
and
It's
the
the
ramen-
hate sauce,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. Just blast the shit out of it with every spice in the
hot
cupboard.
sauce, and
Do you guys
barbecue,
remember?
and
Yeah.
You guys remember crack corn?
vaguely.
Well, remind me.
Oh, or crack corn, or cancer corn, as we used to call it. It was when we took the air fried popcorn, or air heated popcorn,
Oh,
and then we
yeah.
covered in that like butter popcorn flavoring.
Oh, yeah. Like, oh my
That-
God, I
Oh,
forgot
yeah.
about that.
And then we covered it in more flavoring, and it was so delicious. But like,
Ugh.
I'm going to die in my 40s now.
Yeah, yeah. Each
That
piece
was-
of popcorn takes off like half an hour of life.
Dude, yeah, that was
and that was
good.
a regular meal freshman year.
Yeah, you don't.
That was dinner. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something you shouldn't have on your food pyramid popcorn.
Yeah.
You're not
especially
doing it right.
especially crack corn, man. That was bad.
Yeah. Have you heard about the politicization of the food pyramid? How depending on which lobbying group is throwing the most money at the time, they'll stack the pyramid a different way.
I mean, I'm not
Apparently
surprised
this
by
happens.
that,
Is that why grains made up like the largest portion of the pyramid for so
Guess
long?
what's grown the most in the U.S. pulls in the most money.
Yeah, grains.
Yeah.
Yeah. And grains are a staple, but
Big
also
but you
grain
think
is
sugar
coming for
would?
you.
There's got to be so many huge sugar corporations though.
High fructose
no
corn
corn
syrup.
syrup.
Exactly.
Good point. Good
Yeah,
point.
Exactly.
sugar's
Yeah.
pretty much dead in this country.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad. You ever had the Mexican Cokes that have just the straight cane sugar?
Well,
I have.
I don't
yeah.
like Coca-Cola.
Yeah, even I'm not a big fan of soda myself, but you can tell the difference.
Yeah,
It's
it is noticeable. As
less-
somebody who does drink Coca-Cola, it is noticeable.
less syrupy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never trust people who drink sodas for their opinion on the taste of soda, because in a blind test, most people can't tell the difference between Pepsi and Coke.
I can tell the difference between all the inferior sodas and Fago.
What the fuck is Fago?
It's the Juggalo drink of choice.
I think my favorite
It's actually pretty good and reasonably priced.
Oh,
Rock
okay.
Creek is one of my top ones. I
Yeah,
like
that's
Rock
that's a
Creek.
good one.
Yeah.
I like beer.
Yeah.
You guys may have noticed this, but I like beer.
You
Yeah,
don't
dude.
say.
Your microbrewing setup here has produced some quality products.
Yeah,
Yeah,
honestly, that
fantastic
that wheat
beer.
one is very delicious.
Yeah, I mean, I find it weird that we've become so good so quickly at microbrewing. But like, because normally when you have a microbrew from someone, it's shit, which is why I kind of have to convince people to give it a shot. But it's actually like it's come out decent to very good every time.
Yeah, dude. This
Yeah.
is good stuff.
Yeah.
I remember that first glass you poured me. It was so thick the light wouldn't go through it. It was insanely flavorful. Fantastic.
Yeah. It's just fortunate that I like beer enough to know what I'm looking for.
What do you
know?
think's the most high quality beer to you? What's the best beer you've ever had?
Like, do you mean in terms of like type of beer, or like brand, or like actual specific bottle? Do you mean like
Well, give me both.
okay, high quality is what you're asking for here.
Yeah.
Not in terms of preference, but quality.
Quality, yes.
I mean, I guess the highest quality beer would be the one that takes the longest to brew, or has the most expensive materials going into brewing it, and that would probably be a stout, because stouts are ales, and ales tend to take longer to brew.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, and stout does take a decently long period of time to brew, but also a stout's easier to brew. Ales are easy to brew in general because they like to brew at room temperature, whereas a lager prefers to brew at lower temperatures around like 50-ish degrees,
Ah,
50, 60 degrees. So, I mean, it's sort of up in the air about that, but I'd probably say in terms of type of beer, stout's probably the most high quality in terms of just how exhaustive it is to make it, and that's why you see things like imperial stouts. In terms of the highest quality beer that I've ever drank, the most expensive beer I've ever drank was I love Guinness, and Guinness put out this bourbon barrel aged beer
oh my
right around the
God.
time of my 21st birthday. A 4-pack cost $20. Yeah,
Yikes.
yeah.
Yikes.
And I picked it up and drank it, and then I was celebrating my 21st birthday, and it is the worst beer I've ever drank.
Really?
Did you come up to my place for that, or was that a different beer that you brought?
No, I brought that up.
You
to
brought
your
the rest
place.
of it. To,
Yeah,
because
I didn't
bad.
drink any of it,
Yeah.
and I was like, you can drink some if you want.
Yeah,
what about
but
it
don't.
made it bad?
It was beer that tasted like bourbon. That
Okay.
was it.
It
I
was
mean,
super
I
thick.
and I like whiskey. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want my beer to taste like it.
If I remember correctly, it was also very thick and like.
Yeah, I mean that's normal of a stout. It's very
Okay.
thick like that. Yeah, because Guinness is famous for their stouts.
Gotcha.
Granted, they do make other things that are delicious that I love. Like they make my all-time favorite beer, which is the Guinness Wide Mouth White Ale,
Oh,
which is
interesting.
just so good. It is so good.
In a pale ale, where does the paleness come into play? Is it a paler type of wheat, perhaps?
I think, and I could be wrong here, so don't quote me on this, but I don't even think it's wheat in a pale ale. If it's wheat, it's probably a wheat beer or a white beer.
Okay.
Which is the stuff that I tend to brew a lot of. Which is what gives it that white color. I think they're using a paler malt though. So I think I don't know the exact grains they're using in pale ales because I don't really like pale ale. But they're probably just using paler malts in there, like lighter colored malt. And malt could be any grain. Any grain can be used for a malt.
Yeah.
It just has to be something with sugar in it.
Only thing I like about a pale ale is the kick. They tend to be kind of powerful.
Well, and a lot of like most of the flavor that you're getting out of, especially IPAs, but also pale ales that taste very bitter, that's coming from the hops, not from the malt.
Okay.
Hops is a botanical relative of cannabis, correct?
Yes, its closest relative is cannabis. It looks like
Like
weed,
weed
and it
notes.
smells like weed. It smells a lot
interesting.
like weed. Yeah,
Weird.
yeah. It's. I mean, you couldn't smoke it or get anything out of it. It's mostly put in there to add a bitter flavor, but also used to be put in there as a preservative.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's actually weird because you control how much of the flavor is in there by how long you cook it in the wort, and the wort is like the one of the main steps in brewing beer. So it's like the thing that it's the grain water that you make to then boil everything else in, all the flavorings in, and so the longer you boil in the hops, the more it gets that hoppy flavor that I loathe.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jake, what's the worst beer you've ever had?
Oh man, I mean, you know me, I'm not a huge beer drinker, but that one that you brought was pretty bad.
Yeah.
That Guinness was pretty bad.
It's undrinkable.
Is it worse than the weakness of a Keystone Light?
Yeah, a weak beer is honestly one of the least favorites for me because if I'm drinking a beer, I'm drinking a beer to get drunk or
Yeah.
to get buzzed, and usually a weaker beer. I mean, I enjoy like a natty for just like for the meme of it, for like just for the nostalgia.
Yeah.
But it's not a great tasting beer. Like lighter beers like that, any kind of Bud Light or, I mean, yeah, those are probably among the worst ones I've had. I tend to like something stronger and more bitter, like an IPA or pale ale.
Yeah, I don't want to have to get through an entire beer just to enjoy the second one.
I don't want to have to get through 3 shitty beers before I'm starting to enjoy myself. I want to be 2/3 of a way through a beer and be like, I could probably do one more and have a great night.
Well, that's why you can get a 36-pack of Natty Light for like $13.
Yeah.
It's
And you could also
it's
get like 2 beers
awful.
for $13 also.
Yeah.
Okay, Cam. So the question's coming back to you, man. What's the worst beer you've ever had?
Worst beer I've ever had. The Flying Dog Triple Dog is.
They made a triple dog?
I think so.
Because I've had the double dog, which tastes like someone poured the ink out of a Sharpie.
I think this is Triple Dog, and it tastes awful.
Is that
It's pretty hard to
is
drink.
It tastes pretty bad,
is
but
that
it'll get you off your ass in
I
a
be-
single bottle.
I believe it. Is that legal under the Geneva Convention?
I don't-
Because I feel like
That's a
that's a
great
gas
question.
attack. You know,
Yeah,
if
dude.
I've had double dog, triple dog would be cruel and unusual.
It was
an experience.
It was not fantastic to say
Oh,
the least.
I had this one beer, and actually, it's from a microbrewery that I normally like. I'm trying to remember the name. I think it's like Reckless or something like that. But they made this one that was like a triple stout, which whenever they're doubling or tripling something, that's a bad sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was called a Mr. Gorbachev, and so I was like,
Oh, that's awesome.
I got to pick this up for the memes, and it was like drinking straight molasses.
Oh,
It was unpleasant, man. And I normally love the stuff that they make, but that one was just bad.
Dude, you heard about that molasses flood that happened?
I
Like-
did
like
in
100
Boston.
years back?
yes, I did hear about that.
What an awful
It
way
killed
to
like a
go.
bunch of people
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that molasses would drag you down under,
Drowning in
dude.
molasses. That's such an awful
Which-
way to go.
On the outside, sounds like any American's
Like
dream.
hilarious.
A very ironic way for an American to go.
Right.
Well, honestly, molasses doesn't taste that good unless you put it in something else. Have you actually tasted molasses before?
Yes, but
not
it's
while it
been
was
a
being
long
cooked
time.
up. Only after a whole bunch
Yeah,
of stuff had been
I've
done.
Yeah.
tasted it. Like my grandma used to make molasses cookies a lot, and especially when we would go
Dude,
up there.
Molasses cookies are really good.
Oh my! I'll let you guys have some next time. My Grammy sends us some. She makes just the best molasses cookies.
Oh, that sounds
Nice.
stank, bro.
But I think I've had molasses like as a kid when she was making molasses cookies, but it's been ages.
You guys know about the whiskey flood in Ireland? 4 people died, but nobody drowned.
Sounds about right. Wait,
Died
what?
of alcohol poisoning.
Oh,
my
god.
god! They're just drinking it out of the streets.
Yeah, yeah.
A
Which is
whiskey flood.
a whiskey, dude. I would die if there was a whiskey flood.
Dude, if you thought
You would see me like swimming through the streets with my mouth open like a shark.
Dude, if you thought the chlorine in a pool burns your eyes, just wait
Oh
till
my
the whiskey
God.
flood. Bring your goggles. Dude, you guys ever been to a Great Wolf Lodge?
No,
You ever
I
been to one of
haven't.
those?
I
It's an indoor water park.
my family has
Slash
talked
hotel.
about taking a trip to one, but it never came to fruition.
It's cool when you're like 10.
10,
But as
yeah.
an adult, there's not much going. I think there might be a lazy river at best.
Honestly, lazy rivers are kind of fun no matter what age you are.
They're tight if you're drunk enough.
Yeah,
but no, it's something to take your kids to.
yeah,
In concept,
Honestly,
though.
yeah. In
Pretty
concept,
cool.
it's pretty good.
Do you guys now as adults care at all about swimming? I haven't
Yes.
wanted to go swimming in forever.
Dude, I went swimming this past week at my cousin's house, and I always forget how much I love swimming until I'm like in the water. It's always like a so-so activity for me. I'm like, I couldn't. But once I'm in the water, you are hard pressed to get me out. I will spend several hours swimming because I love it so much.
Dude, if I had a private pool, I would go swimming all the time. But I'm not interested in hopping into just a soup made of a bunch of kids' pee.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
Band-Aids
I don't
and
like going
just-
to a public pool. Like I haven't.
Yeah.
This time at my cousin's, it's their own private pool in their backyard, so that's why I went. I hadn't gone swimming for probably close to, if not over a year and a half before that.
Oh, it's been a long ass time since I've been swimming.
But I do. I
It's-
love it.
Just as an adult, I don't know.
It's good
Love the feeling.
exercise, and it's fun, especially during the summer. Like it's a great summer activity.
Cam, it's a little racist for you not to swim. Just
I
saying,
know
you're
how to
reinforcing-
swim.
You're reinforcing
I
some
just-
stereotypes here.
I just I don't know. I don't want to go to a public pool.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the public pools.
Dude, I used to be able to swim really well. I could hold my breath for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes underwater.
Jeez. I think
got-
the max I'm at is like 45 seconds, maybe a minute.
To the point where it was alarming for the lifeguards.
Yeah.
I think they told my family that at some point.
Yeah, you gotta stop him doing that.
But it was tight, dude. You're in like when you're holding your breath for that long, that gets you almost into a pseudo meditative zone. Like
Oh
a
yeah,
flow
it's got
state.
to. Yeah.
I feel like that would definitely not put me in. That would put me in the opposite of a meditative zone to be without air for that
A
long.
coma.
No. I mean, like full on panic. I'd be like, I need to get out of the water right fucking now.
Yeah, that's the thing. You try to time it out. to how can I reach this reasonable point of panic before I decide to head up. you
Yeah.
know?
See, the thing I always found weird because I worked in bouncing for so long is that fights are sort of meditative.
Oh yeah.
Like you stop thinking about anything in the long term, and it just becomes like the next few seconds.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing to me that violence can be meditative.
Well, a lot of meditative flow states are things that appeal to your reptilian brain, right? So that makes sense that when you're doing something as simple as survival of the fittest with your own two fists, then you can really reach a deeper state that ancient humans survived on.
It really takes away like the busyness of everyday life. Kind of, it strips down what's important to you to its bare bones, I guess.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Did you guys ever experience that in sports?
I maybe once or twice playing basketball.
I mean, I definitely feel that when I watch sports. Like, that's a big reason why I love football so much, is because I only focus on football when football is being played.
Mhm.
You know, it just takes all of my attention away from anything else. It is the best, easiest way to relax, which is why when football season is over, I sit around and I wait for football to be back.
Yeah. Dude, in lacrosse, playing as the goalie, you definitely enter that flow state where
Oh yeah, because you have to be kind of following the ball everywhere.
it's
it
like you
goes.
activate your Sharingan,
Yeah.
dude. Your eyes just tracking the target, waiting to determine the angle at which it will be released. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
You know, I've never actually seen a game of lacrosse played.
Dude,
It's pretty intense to
college
watch.
lacrosse, you got to go check out a game, dude.
My cousin
Okay.
used to play
It's
college lacrosse until he
bonkers.
broke his jaw.
Yeah, I've seen some grievous injuries, dude. I saw someone's kneecap go like to the
Oh, no.
back of the
No, no,
leg.
No.
It was insane.
Dude, that's like when we were at Cooper's watching the Chris
Yeah.
Weidman Uriah Hall fight where Chris Weidman snapped his shin.
Oh yeah.
Dude, we watched that
Yeah.
live. It was one of the craziest.
And they kept playing it in slow.
They kept playing it over and over again, and you see him. Not only do you see him like snap his shin around this dude's leg, you then
in the
see
first
him
kick of the game
or
or the match.
the very first like throw or kick or movement that was done in this match. Like it was like they touched gloves, stepped back, and the first thing he threw was this leg kick that
Yeah.
snapped his shin. And then they would show it in slow motion, not just him hitting the leg, but then him stepping down, and you can see the broken bottom part of his leg just like move itself out of the way, and him step down onto the broken part of his shin where his
Dude, it looked like in
And-
the
and-
Chamber of Secrets when Harry Potter takes
Exactly,
that juice
exactly.
that melts his bones.
that's exactly what it looked like.
But also, like in the slow motion, you could see that the exact moment that he realized that his leg was destroyed, because he doesn't realize when he's still up in the kick, and then as he moves his leg down, as
Tries
soon
to-
as he pushes it puts it on the ground,
Oh no!
you can see his face is
It's-
like, oh, that doesn't just hurt, that is messed up,
Yeah, dude.
and he collapses.
And then you just watch him screaming in agony, and it's
Yeah.
something else to watch somebody who goes through serious amounts of pain on a daily basis for their career, who's
Yeah.
a trained fighter, and watching somebody who has such a high pain tolerance laying on the floor screaming in agony. It just sends a kind of different like signal. It reaches somewhere deeper in you than it would, I feel like, for the lay person. 'Cause this person is accustomed to pain and is not afraid of it and welcomes it even. But this watching somebody who's lives in pain scream and writhe in agony it's unsettling.
Yeah, dude. Did you see Tom Segura when he wiped out playing basketball?
Yes, dude, yes. That one that's the same kind of visceral reaction as this leg break. It's just like, holy shit, you like grab your face, you're
Like,
just like, oh my god.
You can tell something is broken before he even lands.
Oh yeah,
Like the arm was just secondary damage.
secondary.
He tore his ACL or something, right? His
I think so,
His
yeah,
knee
his
just
knee.
collapsed. I was like, oh,
That is
Tom
similar.
Segura, the comedian,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
hurt himself playing basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Doing a dunk contest with Burt Kreischer.
The craziest
Oh.
part is he was dunking just fine prior.
Prior, yeah, and
Like,
he won.
He's not
he won
bad
that.
at dunking,
He
apparently.
won that dunk contest. Yeah.
But man, Seth, he lands on his arm just the
It
absolute
it
wrong
snaps
way,
and
and
bends it all the way back behind
it
his
folds
back.
in like a chicken wing.
Oh,
It
ow,
was
ow.
it's so bad.
It
It's so
is
bad.
one of the most painful things I've seen in a while. It's like yikes.
Dude, I've watched his podcast a few times, like pretty regularly since and before, but since then they've one of his favorite types of videos to watch are of other fat people falling and hurting themselves.
That's why I heard about it. Is that it was a very ironic accident.
It was.
At least he was in the act of doing something athletic.
Yeah.
If he had had that injury in the line at KFC, that would have been an entirely different game.
I mean, I tore a tendon in my foot playing basketball, doing a similar thing, going up for a layup. I mean, I couldn't dunk, but
Yikes!
going up for a layup.
Did you stretch prior, or did you just get into it? Because
I probably did not stretch that
that'll
well
do ya.
because if I remember correctly, I wasn't even supposed to be playing basketball on the team. I don't even think I was on the team that year. I was doing the community play instead, but the coach knew I'd played before and was friendly with me. And because I went to such a small school, one of the players left or like couldn't make it, and so they all had 4 out of 5 players. And he's like, I need somebody, or maybe they had 5 and they just wanted a sub or whatever. He's like, I need an extra player. Can you come play? And it wasn't even in the game. It was we were scrimmaging. We were warming up before the game, and I went up for a layup and just it ripped the tendon in my foot. I've broken bones in my foot. I've broken bones in my hand. I've broken my nose. I've broken a rib. Nothing compares to the pain I felt tearing the tendon in my foot. Tearing a tendon is a different kind of pain.
Yeah, I have to imagine.
Unbearable.
I actually had something similar happen back when I played football, where I was in a scrimmage. Like this was just practice, and we were doing scrimmage. And I played linebacker, so they were doing a run up the middle, and so I went to go plug the hole, and the running back's face mask hit my arm, broken in 3 places.
Yeah,
and nobody could prove that my arm was broken. I didn't know that my arm was broken at the time, so I kept playing. My coaches were like,
Yikes.
Yeah, just go like this, your arm will feel better. But it was broken in 3 places.
That's rough. I broke my hand. That's like when I broke my hand and I had to sit in the car for another 7 hours because I was on a road trip.
Yikes, dude.
Yeah. I was like maybe 14 or 15, and it must have been around like either Christmas time, like after Christmas or after my birthday. Because I'd like gotten some gift that I ended up leaving. Like we were on a road trip. We stopped to visited my cousins in Ohio, and then we're going up to Vermont.
Mhm.
And we were like just entering New York when I realized I left like one of my gifts at like my cousins in Ohio, that was maybe I think our only time ever visiting them in Ohio. So at the time I was convinced I would just never see those gifts again, never get it back. And I got super frustrated and I hit the back of the car seat like really hard and snapped the bone in my hand like that runs past the like through the pinky.
Yikes.
And immediately I felt nauseous and I like was in pain, and I told my mom, I was like, I think I really hurt my hand, and my mom being a paramedic was like, whatever, you're fine, brush it off. And a few minutes later I go, I think I might throw up. And my mom said, yeah, that's when I knew that you were in some serious pain.
Yikes.
And then, but we had just entered the Adirondacks Mountains in New York, and there was not another hospital until Burlington, Vermont, like across the mountains. So I had to sit in the car for like 6 or 7 hours with my hand like wrapped up in a pillow to keep it like immobile for like 7
Damn.
hours in the car.
Dude, I saw this YouTube video from this guy who had a negligent discharge and shot his finger off. And he said in the entire like 40-minute ordeal from that happening to him getting to the hospital, he didn't feel anything. Like the shock was so immense that it covered losing a digit.
That's
insane. And apparently because he was like point blank when he shot the finger off, it was so hot that it cauterized the wound. So he didn't bleed out, nor did he get an infection because it was burnt clean.
That's super lucky, but
there's lots of stories like that of people who get their limbs blown off, and you see them just kind of calmly and kind of confused looking for their arm in
Yeah.
the field, man.
Yeah,
Like, shock is a weird thing.
oh yeah, dude.
Like your brain just decides, no, I don't feel that pain.
Yeah.
See, what I feel must be insane is people who like lose their limbs say that sometimes they feel like an itch.
They feel the limb back. Yeah.
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 And they say it's like I have like an itch on the part of my body that is no longer there.
I heard that that's more common when the nerve is violently separated, whereas if you do a really surgical cut, you can minimize the chance of phantom limb syndrome.
Oh,
Huh,
really?
I didn't
Of
know
course, most amputations aren't happening under
Yeah.
that pretext.
They're only happening in response to a serious trauma usually.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you've gone like really gangrenous or something.
Yeah, if you have
Or
like
diabetic.
if you're diabetic.
Oh, yeah. So I never understood, why do you have to lose a limb if you have diabetes?
You're
Because it looks cool.
Oh, just to let everyone know you have diabetes.
well, due to the diabetes, your body has trouble healing the wound. So it'll be something as insignificant as a splinter, but next thing you know, your entire
You just can't fight
your
it.
entire toe's gone gangrenous.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if you're diabetic, something as simple as a scratch can lead to MRSA or a whole bunch of issues.
Well, wow.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
See, that's a John question. If we ever get John back on,
Yeah,
ask him what's going on with that.
I think we might have asked him about that. But yeah, we should definitely have him back on, especially when this new UFO dossier drops.
Yeah,
We gotta have John on the pod.
yeah, he'd be a good guy to have on.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. There's just so much UFO stuff going on.
It's
Might as well
the
talk about it
amount
right
that it's
now.
coming out is just, and the frequency and the amount is, it's hard to keep up. It's insane.
Now, it makes you think, is it a psyops? Are they trying to take your attention from something else going on? Who
Mm,
knows?
I think it's a psyops, but I don't think it's a diversionary psyops. I think it's like a preemptive psyops. I think they already have a lot more of the information that they're letting on, and it's more of a preliminary kind of testing the waters, see how the public reacts to the announcement of aliens and UFOs, if that's what it is, or of like super high. I mean, whatever it is, it's incredible technology,
Yeah.
and it would probably cause a panic if it wasn't introduced gradually into the mainstream.
Yeah. I think
if all of a sudden, I mean, because a lot of these drone sightings are seen around like nuclear facilities and
oh yeah.
and other like high security locations that are not supposed to be viewed.
It just seems that if the goal of any government is to maintain control. For the government to admit that there is some force out of their control with better technology, that it means a lot that the government's willing to even come out and say that.
Yeah.
Even if they're not going to fully explain it, the implications alone means a lot of thought went into any of these announcements. Period.
I'm still not convinced that there are aliens here.
Maybe not.
The space
But
is just too vast.
Somebody has a ship better than ours.
They've had it.
Potentially.
They've
And
had it
that's
for
scary.
at least
Potentially.
20 plus years too. Because I've talked to my dad, who was a former naval intelligence reconnaissance photographer. Was pretty much did like super top secret, like high clearance naval photography, like combat photography in like flying in like super high like stealth jets and whatnot, taking high resolution enemy photographs. And he said that they regularly saw these UFOs even back then during his time in the service, which I believe was in the 90s.
Well,
So
that could just be Foo Fighters, though.
But again, that's something that needs to be explained better than just they're out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess Foo Fighters. I mean, I think the idea of Foo Fighters is that they were optical illusions.
Okay.
well, that's I mean
That's also something to overcome. If your optics are showing you ships that aren't there, that itself is something
Well,
to address.
a lot of times they were using that excuse because it was
They didn't know.
they didn't know what
Yeah.
it was, and it's way easier to say, oh, it was just
A Foo
a
Fighter.
flare, a Foo Fighter, a optical flare, or whatever. And than it
Yeah.
is to admit that you don't know what the fuck you just saw. And when I talked to my dad about it, because I had just seen some of these dossiers and I thought it was interesting, and I brought it up to him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we saw that stuff all the time," and it was such a non-issue for him because they saw them so frequently. So it wasn't like just a once every so often as a hallucination or a visionary malfunction. It was a regular occurrence that they all saw.
Yeah.
So
Well, have you actually heard what the pilots say during those videos? Because that adds way more credibility to the videos.
I mean, I've heard bits and pieces. I don't know if I've heard the entirety.
I mean, they actually seem convinced that something
Yeah, I mean,
weird is
yeah, when
going
you
on.
listen to their voices, that's clearly the reaction of somebody who's witnessing this for the first time, or was witnessing something that they don't have any
And
understanding
the
of.
thing that makes it very odd is that like these are the most credible people for speaking
Yeah,
to the subject.
they're what's called reluctant observers. They don't want to see what they're seeing, but they can't deny that they've seen what they've seen.
Yeah.
They don't go out. They don't seek credibility or clout from it. But if you ask them if they've seen it, they go, "Yeah, I've seen it. I don't know what it is. I didn't want to, but I can't deny that I saw it, and I don't know what it is."
Yeah. And
What-
it's just weird how long the Pentagon just slept on it, man.
Well, they weren't sleeping. They were
They were
planning
working.
out
They were
the
working
entire
very hard
reveal.
on it. Yeah.
In all likelihood. Apparently, in the Kremlin, they have just stacks and stacks of files of alien sightings by their pilots and their nuclear operators.
Well, how do we know that?
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, the Kremlin keeps things under lock and key.
Yeah,
Well, I watched a YouTube
in-
series.
you got to think a lot of Russians live in the wilderness. If even one of them has access to the internet and can upload on some ridiculous forum, maybe some minuscule percent of these reports are actually true. Who knows?
Yeah.
I watched a series recently called The Basement Office that covers a lot of these UFO topics just from a scientific or
Is that
a
a-
factual.
Is that an X-Files reference?
Probably.
Yeah, because Mulder's office was
The
down
basement.
underneath Langley.
Yeah.
Well, not Langley. Where does the FBI work out of?
No idea.
Langley's the CIA.
I think they're in.
Quantico?
Yes.
I don't know. It's in some government building. He has
Yeah.
his weirdo office in the basement.
You know you aren't even allowed to photograph the MI5 building?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, it is a little weird.
Sorry.
No, I was just saying. One of the co-hosts of this YouTube series is a former MI5 or MI6 intel head of UFO sightings and stuff for MI5 or MI6, who ran did all the investigations into sightings and stuff. And
Dude, there's been a fair amount of sightings in the
a
UK.
very fair amount. Yeah,
Well, if it's internal, then it's MI5.
I can't remember off the top of my head. But,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. MI5.
Because it's like our FBI, CIA. CIA does external, FBI does internal.
Well, they're
Gotcha.
supposed to do external.
Yeah.
They do a lot of internal too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the jurisdiction, at least.
Imagine a painter who you ask to paint the outside of your house, and suddenly he's doing the living room. That'd be a little,
Yeah.
a little off.
Right.
That's a gentle way of putting it.
Sorry, there's like a better way to phrase that joke where you're surprised. It's like imagine a painter that you paid to paint the outside of the house, and then the next thing you know, he's selling crack.
Yeah.
Out of your house.
Out of your house, and blaming it on you.
Yeah, dude. Oh, all the conspiracy theories and crazy stuff. Did you hear that Charles Manson apparently had a CIA handler
Yeah,
who repeatedly got him out of jail?
that makes sense. I believe that.
Really?
Apparently, this is true
Like it's confirmed.
Yeah.
with documents. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Oh, also, did you see the new FBI release on Kurt Cobain?
I did not
What?
see that. No.
It wasn't a suicide.
Oh,
In
really?
all likelihood, was not a suicide.
So it was Courtney.
Well, yeah.
It was
who knows?
Courtney.
Who knows?
I mean, I realize we might get sued for would this be libelous? This is technically print, but it was Courtney.
Because what? Kurt Cobain apparently did a massive amount of heroin
Hey, he couldn't have
and
pulled
then
the trigger.
manipulated a shotgun trigger with his toe to kill himself. He was gone. He was beyond gone on heroin.
There's also a guy who states that Courtney tried to pay him
I've
to
heard this.
to
Yeah.
kill him. So,
A lot of crazy people would say that.
yeah, I mean that's just sort of good for publicity, isn't it?
But out of all the crazy person, if even one is true,
yeah.
who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah, and also, Courtney loves the bitch. So
That happened in 96, right?
94.
94. Damn, yeah.
Actually, it's the way John Lydon puts it, or Johnny Rotten, what his stage name. He calls Courtney Love. Courtney loves Kurt's money.
Yeah. Yeah, the concept of dating a star, even if you are a star yourself, it's just a weird dynamic. How does that work? For two ultra famous people who,
Well,
I guess-
there's a whole dating app for that.
I guess I can understand.
I've actually heard about that, like a Tinder for incredibly rich and famous
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
only.
I mean, I guess I can understand those people who date each other like that, because there's probably not a lot of people who have similar experiences and life goals and stuff as
Yeah,
somebody who has the resources and the money and the fame that comes with being a celebrity like that.
yeah, it makes sense. They're really the only people who can relate to you.
And you want to know that, I mean, I guess if it were me, I would want the comfort of knowing that somebody's not with me for my money or my fame. Like,
But they kind of are with you for the publicity, right? You're famous, they're famous. You being together, just like Jay-Z and Beyonce, creates a much more powerful combo out of the two.
I think it can, but I also think that, I mean, I guess I just think about if it were me, I would want, I feel like it's easier to trust somebody who's not gonna, if I don't have to worry about the money aspects. I mean, yeah, they'll get publicity out of it, but so will I. Whereas if I'm dating somebody who's, not in my social or financial bracket like that, then I run the risk of, being manipulated just for my money or for my fame.
I feel like if you're a star at that magnitude, you're gonna be manipulated, period. It's kind of the price of stardom, right? Which is so unfortunate, dude.
Yeah.
Like people who grew up in Hollywood, like their parents were actors, so they easily got an audition, got in. That's no way to raise a kid, man. That's no place for a kid to be.
Yeah, it's not a healthy environment for children at all.
Just the ultra competitiveness of it alone. That everything's constantly on the line and you have to act perfect.
And then on top of that, I guess on top of that, and because of that, it leads to just an immense amount of substance and personal issues.
Yeah.
Substance abuse issues and
well, the abuse itself is
the
all throughout
abuse,
Hollywood. This is crazy. This is crazy to think that this establishment has been in place with the levels of strength it has through since the 40s, 50s.
Decades. I mean, I think you're starting to see a shift, but it's pretty gradual.
Oh, dude, that was one of the sweetest parts of COVID. Watching celebrities reveal just how out of touch they are.
Yeah, how out of touch.
Did you see that article that Gwyneth Paltrow broke down during the crisis and ate a slice of bread?
Oh,
well, and then it asked you, what was your lowest point?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was her lowest point. I eat bread every fucking day.
15,000 people had Andrew Cuomo kill their grandparents.
Yeah.
But Gwyneth Paltrow had a slice of bread. She's
Yeah.
really... And 2 cocktails a day.
Two
Have
a day.
mercy. It just showed how they are another breed of people entirely.
Or Madonna with that terrible singing she uploaded.
Oh my god.
It was so bad.
Dude, the Imagine
The Imagine video.
So awful.
Wow. It's a perfect, it's the epitome of what the celebrity...
At the trial of the elites, that's what will be playing in the background.
A song with the line, "Imagine there's no heaven," when everybody's family members are dying
Yeah. Dude,
Why?
imagine a tragedy going on. You pick up your phone and you switch your camera to the forward facing one, and you get ready to, in all earnesty, spit your ridiculous opinion out to the internet.
I'm just imagining like a guy with the forward-facing camera on, singing like "Imagine there's no head," and like in the background you see two flaming twin towers.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's Mark Ruffalo taking a shit while he records himself with his forward-facing camera. That was one of the most tasteless things I've
It was just so
ever
tone
seen.
deaf.
Okay,
So tone deaf.
here's a question for you. Do you think that social media has made society more narcissistic, or do you think we were always
Yes.
One
Yes, absolutely.
or do you think we were always this narcissistic? We just had no way to
No.
show it.
No,
No one
it
in the past
exasperated it.
thought they could steal a dance from black people and then record it and then become a TikTok star. That expectation of whatever dumb thing I do becomes the next meme. No, the average person didn't have that amount of influence, you know?
Yeah, actually, that's true.
And the
That's
average
true.
person doesn't have that. The amount of they have way more access to just different individuals and individuality. I guess I feel like before social media, there was a lot more just social cohesion and understanding of just what was expected and
Social norms. Yeah.
social norms. So
The illusion of the connections between people. Like, I just recently rebooted my Facebook after literally 7 years. And I have 758 friends. I don't know 75 people, much less 758. What do you mean, friends?
yeah,
I mean, sure, they're people I'm on good terms with, but
they are a
a
person.
friend
I
is
have,
someone you at least see or talk to on a semi-regular
like
basis,
at least once
right?
a year, and
Yeah.
then you're my friend.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to check in and make sure that they're alive and well and
Then fuck off.
yeah.
I'll talk to you next year unless you're dead.
Yeah,
you know?
I have friends that close friends that I talk to once a year who I would put above some of my friends that I see once a week. But even talking once a year, I know that we're still chill. But
Yeah.
yeah, talking when it comes to Facebook friends and stuff, I don't even know how many I have, and they're not even they're just people I've met, really.
That's all it is.
Yeah, and like a lot of them, it's like I have to think really because I deleted all my social media 4 years ago, something like that.
Good call.
Yeah, no, I'm very much happier without it.
Yeah.
I eventually realized it's like, oh, it's a bunch of people creating these, putting up pictures, trying to convince me how wonderful their lives are. Well, I'm putting up pictures trying to convince them how wonderful my life is.
Dude, that's...
But we're both made miserable by this.
That's exactly the thing. If we want to talk about like capitalism and how there's like a huge
I think you
wealth
mean
gap and whatnot.
capitalism.
Like social media, what makes it so insidious and why it's so bad for young kids is that they naturally draw comparison to what they see at the top of their feed. The top of the feed is always going to be the best moments of people's lives and the worst moments. And when you compare yourself and you find that you're floating in this gray in between the two, you lose sight of who you are.
And you start seeing yourself in your life in terms of these extremes of
Exactly.
very good and very bad.
You form yourself in this twisted mirror image of what the real world is. And it's incredibly unhealthy.
I mean, it's also just, this isn't from a child's perspective, just from the perspective that I had. It's like, it seems like you're playing a game with no winner.
Exactly.
And there's no, like you have the objective of the game, which is to make it seem like your life is great in some way, or to get pity if you're, so persuaded,
Yeah.
But what's the fucking? I don't need to convince people that don't give a shit about me that my life is great because they don't care either. They're just gonna see that and go, "Why isn't my life that good?" and think about themselves again because people are narcissists.
Look, I come up with funny bits sometimes. I'll write down for the podcast, and I'll think about maybe opening Twitter and posting it there, and then I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
who cares?
That's how I feel sometimes when scrolling through like YouTube comments or something. I'll think of something really funny, or like I'll find somebody's like comment that's really funny, and I'll be like, oh, I want to let that person know how funny I think it is. But then I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
halfway through the comment, you're like,
But why?
would-
Why am I doing this?
Why
This
would they
person
give a
doesn't
shit?
care that I think that they're funny. Like,
Yeah.
Why can't I just enjoy this for myself and enjoy that I found it funny? Why do I have to like?
That's the beauty of video comment sections. They tend to be very funny.
They're so
Yeah.
People
funny.
will come with the hottest takes, the most wild thing you've ever thought of.
I spend probably half of my video, like I spend all day on YouTube, and half of that time I spend in the comments
Oh,
of the
dude,
YouTube videos that I'm
Half
watching.
of any video I'm quote unquote watching,
Watching, yeah.
I'm reading through the top comments to see who made the funniest bit about it.
There's without a doubt, without fail, there's almost always a hilarious comment.
It's kind of nice though.
It
You
is.
know, for people who are very, I guess we're kind of all anti-tech to some degree.
Mhm.
Not like a fast PC, but social media and stuff. None of
Yeah.
us are about that.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice to see a YouTube community, form together around the comment section. You'll see
Yeah.
the same faces over and over again.
Exactly.
And it's actually
It's
weird
tight.
how many people like they seem to be like professional YouTube commenters.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Which
oh
is
yeah.
so weird.
It's a
Like-
whole niche of like comedy and humor almost.
It
now.
is.
Yeah.
It really is. It's
And
different from
they-
from like Reddit or Twitter.
I mean,
It's very
actually, I'd say it's probably closest to Reddit because it's different from social media. Like I'd say Reddit and YouTube in the fact that you're disconnected. You
But
know, I
YouTube
don't know
is-
who owns the Barack Obama YouTube account. All I know is that they make some funny fucking jokes. You know.
Yeah, but YouTube, in terms of comment sections, is very anti-echo box. It's very
Yeah.
open. You'll find all kinds of people. You'll see like a 65-year-old grandma come through with the hottest take of the life. And you're like, this is what we came here for. This is quality
Exactly.
content. That's what's kind of nice about YouTube. Whereas Reddit it's just a series of echo boxes.
And actually, I think I actually do love Reddit. I just don't consider it. It's obviously different from like Instagram and Facebook and that's because nobody knows what my Reddit account name is, and I don't get clout from it.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with my actual life.
Though people really act like they get major clout when they
Yeah.
get Reddit gold.
Reddit karma.
Reddit
Karma.
gold, my sir.
Yeah.
Why did they add all of those awards you can add to posts?
Money.
Well, but beyond obvious. That because that wasn't
You
a
don't
thing.
you don't want a gold
gold
star?
Yeah, you don't want a little gold star next to your post. I mean,
It's-
You have a gold star next to your post.
It's that like psychological feedback that
yeah, I think
Yeah,
they're
it's
trying to
just
get
the
into that
sticker
social media
syndrome.
addiction thing where it's like you get a little bit of feedback and you're like, I need more.
Yeah, it's like
Man.
the sticker syndrome. Like when getting a sticker, like as a kid in class, like you want more. The sticker is a useless piece of trash. Like it
Yeah.
means nothing. But as soon as you get one, it makes you feel great, and you want to keep doing it.
Yeah, you
wanna-
get that quick hit of dopamine.
Yeah, it's a drug.
Yeah.
It's
That's
a fix.
That's why I think social media is so dangerous for kids growing up. You start developing those pathways early on, and it leads you to being someone who seeks fame and attention.
Did you ever hear about that? I can't remember the name of it, but that show that aired like right as the internet was becoming a thing, but they put a bunch of people in a house. It was a reality show, and they live streamed them 24 hours a day.
This is
Always.
familiar.
They went mad.
It sounds about right.
Yeah,
Wait, were they adults or were they kids?
They
Because
were
they tried this with kids.
they were adults. What the fuck with kids? You can't do that.
There was
to
like
children.
one film crew that was in there, and they were told, do not interact with the kids, even when they're threatening suicide.
No. These were like young adults, and like I don't think there was a film crew either. I think it was just always.
Oh, well, a live
on
stream house.
but like always, like you couldn't. Like it wasn't like there was
You
like
know,
one
it's-
camera. There was like cameras everywhere.
You know what's crazy?
and they would change the angles to watch you constantly.
there are Twitch streamers who do that right now by
Yeah,
choice.
by choice.
How scary is that?
Dude, that's a
Dude, I've seen some
dystopia.
hilarious videos.
This is the dystopia, dude.
I've seen some hilarious videos of like people who are doing like 24-hour streams or like constant streams, and they're like in bed asleep, and somebody will like gift money
Yeah,
for a
dude.
comment, and then the comment will be like, Alexa, order order
Imagine-
like 500 iPhone 11s, and the person
Imagine
wakes up
think-
screaming like, no, Alexa, turn it on.
Imagine thinking you're so self-important, right? That your sleep schedule is content worthy.
Yeah.
No, just stop it.
Also, who the fuck is
just
watching
stop.
it other than people that want to talk to the Alexa? Which also, if you're doing that for a living, don't own an Alexa.
Yeah, and don't have it playing music
Well, there's
on your stream.
There's a whole bunch of edgy IRL streamers who walk around with just the speaker connected to the super chats, and it'll blast the most racist things
the
in the
most
world
fucked up
That's
shit
a little
in
in
the
funny.
front
world.
of the people most likely to be mad about it.
That's a little.
And they'll
funny.
do it on
Like-
purpose.
Like in front of cops, they'll just start saying some
somebody will
crazy stuff.
gift like $5 for the comment to read out loud saying like "fuck all police" and
Yeah,
like
dude.
I want to go to jail, or like I'm
While
like,
someone's live streaming themselves getting pulled over.
yeah,
It's bad. It's
like
really
wow.
bad.
comment saying like, I have like 15 pounds of cocaine in the backseat and I just got away with a murder. Like,
Yeah, dude.
while they're getting like in handcuffs.
I'll hand it to him. It's funny content.
It is. It's good
Like,
content. Like
don't-
objectively.
Don't put your freedom on the line like
Yeah,
that for something as
yeah.
stupid as super chats.
Well, I guess they're getting money. You know, I guess it is a job.
Dude, people pull in crazy super chat money.
Oh yeah.
It's ridiculous, dude. Cover your entire rent for the month and a night if you do well, what's the new trend? Hot tub streams.
Hot tub streaming.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
That's
Yeah.
the new trend.
I don't feel like I would get a lot of money if I did a hot tub.
Seth,
stream,
you should have your own little mini grill to the side,
Yes.
just a case of beer, just have
Or
a good
like
time,
put the
dude.
case of beer in a floaty. That'll be. I'll even wear
Dude,
like
you
a
could-
one-piece suit.
You could absolutely do that.
You would.
And if you're consistent enough and enough people like the meme, suddenly you're richer than you've ever imagined.
Yo, I might go ahead and try this. You know,
It's got to be a kiddie
me out
pool
in the
though.
jacuzzi wearing a bikini. You know,
Like the secret to becoming a good streamer is stream something you actually enjoy doing. You know, I've seen speedrunners really lose steam over time when they're playing a game they don't particularly enjoy, but it was in a series of games they like. You know, but they feel like they're obligated to stream it because of their audience, and then it just comes in negative.
yeah, like that happens with
yeah.
Mario streamers a lot.
Yeah.
Because they'll hit one Mario game that they just don't really like that much.
Yeah,
But they have to keep doing it.
which, man, with all the Mario games out there, to become just a Mario streamer itself is a real crapshoot year by year.
Yeah. So I love grand strategy games, especially ones made by Paradox.
Mhm.
And so I used to watch a lot of Hearts of Iron 4 streamers. And like that, they eventually went from like loving the game to loathing the game, man.
Yeah,
Like they got so tired of all anybody wanted to see was Hearts of Iron 4. And when you no longer wanted to watch Hearts of Iron, like when they no longer wanted to play it, like all their fan base would be like, no, come back to playing Hearts of Iron 4. And at that point, I was moving on with them. I was like, I want to see a different game.
yeah.
You've beat this game to death. I don't need to see what if Germany lost World War One.
Yeah.
Dude, I love the micro, all the little miniature movements that take place during a high paced real time strategy game. Like, have you ever seen Company of Heroes 2
I've not.
ESL games? Dude, they go hard. The amount of clicks that are going into each individual movement to get a frame perfect sniper shot, it's wild, dude. It's absolutely wild and super impressive. You see the same thing in StarCraft. A lot of micro.
Huh.
And then there's more long form strategy games like Hearts of Iron, which is
Yeah.
enjoyable too. Yeah.
Yeah, and you micro in that game as well.
You
I
can
mean,
watch the first hour, then hop in after dinner, and they're
exactly. Which
they're
is
in the
what I
mid
loved about-
1800s. You're like, oh, things are about to get hot.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is it. This is it.
Well, yeah, except Hearts of Iron 4 is 1936 to 1956.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
Dude, I looked up. I really like this one RTS back in the day, Empire Earth, where you start the game as cavemen and you end the game with mechanized infantry.
Is this where they just march towards each other?
There's a little more to it than that.
But no, I think I've
But
played
it's a
before. That's what
really
I'm saying,
really
yeah.
simplistic RTS.
Was it like a Flash game?
No. This was
Then I'm
a
thinking a
full-on
different
release.
game. Okay, I'm thinking a different game then.
Well, this game. I do know the Flash game you're talking about,
Yeah.
where they like battle through the ages and shit.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you upgrade your tech slowly.
Yeah, it was a lot like that, but full on RTS. And you'd eventually get to the point where there was mechs flying through the air, just stamping out cavemen and samurais. It was really fun.
Dude,
But
that's pretty much the new Netflix anime Yasuke about the Black Samurai.
I didn't know they made one.
They made one, and I was really hyped for it because I think it's a super interesting story. I'd love to like learn more about like the first and only Black Samurai.
Dude,
And-
watch the Japanese handle race relations much better than any American animation studio would right now.
I think it might be an American animation studio that did this then because it's. I mean, it has almost no lore basis, like history basis in it whatsoever. It's just like you're talking about. It's like samurais versus like mechs, like mechanized robots that
Oh,
like
yeah.
jump around and blast. I mean, it's cool to watch. The
There-
soundtrack is done entirely.
There was another anime like that. Do you know what it's called? Where like modern age military soldiers somehow like jump through a portal to a
Gate.
medieval land. Yeah,
Gate. I
yeah.
watched that. That show's actually pretty good. I enjoyed that show a lot. It's that concept of some weird portal opens up in like the middle of Japan that transport to basically a fantasy realm where there are knights and dragons and cat people and,
Yeah.
and all that shit.
It's like Stargate SG-1 meets God, I'm blanking on it. Rain of Fire.
Yeah.
Do you ever see that Uwe Boll movie, Rain of Fire?
No.
He's the guy who does like Far Cry and Blood Rain, all these terrible video game adaptations.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, he made this film called Rain of Fire, and it's not the best movie I've ever seen, and I say that because he'll challenge his critics to a boxing match, and this 55-year-old German man slays, dude. He knocks out every single one of his opponents. So I won't go too harsh on the movie, but it's worth checking out as a bad movie to watch.
Well, Gate was really interesting. I mean, it's basically like the storyline is what would happen if this portal opened up into a fantasy world. How would a modern military respond? And it addresses some of like the political issues that might arise in those circumstances, as well as like how these militaries would fight it out. And you get some good scenes of
Dude,
just
you
the
know what's-
SDF just slaughtering some knights.
You know what's a similar premise to that? I think about it. The movie Atlantis,
Yeah, actually, it's
where
pretty similar.
these dudes from the 1940s hop out in a portal to this Atlantean world where they have advanced technology but are also living in tribes at the same time.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Honestly,
Really well
kind of a
animated,
slept on movie though.
Dude,
Yeah,
it's
super
so well
slept on.
animated.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what was really slept on though? Treasure Planet.
Oh yeah.
That was so good.
Dude, I was so hyped for the Treasure Planet toys at McDonald's when I was a
I
kid.
don't remember that at all. But that movie was great, but slept on.
It was really good. Probably inspired a bunch of furries
Yeah.
with the anamorphic designs of the characters.
Unfortunately, yes.
Those
Yeah.
are the ones with the mice, right? Or is that no, that's the what is it? What is that movie with like the hamsters or the mouse? It's a similar kind of adventure rescue.
Stuart Little.
No.
Did you know that movie was written by M. Night Shyamalan?
Wait, really?
I'm not even kidding. It's an M. Night Shyamalan production.
That's kind of
It's probably his
probably the best. Yeah.
movie. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, that's a twist.
Yeah, man, we got to watch The Happening. I try to come around and watch that movie every couple of years or so. It is god awful.
We gotta watch Money Plane.
Yes,
You
dude.
want to see a dude fucking an alligator? Money Plane.
Yeah, I just watched the Red Letter Media review of Money Plane only like yesterday or 2 days ago.
Oh, really? I've
It's
been
good.
wanting to watch that movie for a long time. It's only like an hour and a half long, and it's a terrible movie.
Yeah, dude, it's a sight to behold,
Yeah,
to say the least. Dude, what was one of the worst movies that you saw when you were a kid?
When I was a kid?
Because digging through the basement, last week, I came across the movie Page Master. with Macaulay Culkin. It is garbage. It's so bad.
You're gonna need to explain to me what this movie is. I have no idea.
The plot is a fever dream. I couldn't even I couldn't even attempt to explain what happens in this movie. I think he's being bullied or something. No. No, now I'm just thinking of the never-ending story where the kid goes to the bookstore and he comes across the old man who teaches him about the never-ending story. And that page master, no idea what happens. It's not even worth going back to find out, though.
I don't remember a lot of the bad movies that I saw as a kid. It's a lot easier to remember the good movies I saw as a kid.
Now, there's certain bad movies that turn the tide for me. Like, when I remember seeing the advertisement for Lion King 3.5.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
even as a 11-year-old,
I do remember
that doesn't need to exist.
Yeah.
Is that the one that was
actually
just commentary?
One. Yeah. It pretty much was just commentary.
Yeah. 2.5 was its own adventure, but I think 3.5 was literally
I think it was
just Timon and Pumbaa commentary.
Yeah. I remember that might have been the first one that I was like, this is just no.
There was that.
This is just no.
Then when I was 14, I saw Jack and Jill. And that opened my eyes to how corrupt the movie industry is, that it is just about tax write-offs and taking the most expensive vacation possible while filming in 2 weeks. A roughly $90 million movie that has the production value of not even a YouTube video. It's garbage. It's advertisements stacked on advertisement with an advertising break. There's a full-on Royal Caribbean cruise commercial in the middle of the movie. Just cuts to a commercial. All right. After seeing that, it opened my eyes that Hollywood is not about creating good products. It is about shilling, selling as much crap as possible.
Yeah, they do shovel the crap out there.
I could sure go for a Pepto-Bismol right now.
Speaking of shilling, let's talk about today's sponsor.
Gosh, I wish.
We don't have a sponsor. If you'd like to be our sponsor, this is when we would talk about you.
If you'd like to have your name and business information put here in this point in the podcast, please feel free to reach out.
Well, here's the thing.
Promise to be seen by dozens.
By us. That's for sure.
We have to use the product. That's where I'm going to draw the line when it comes to advertisements.
Yeah.
If we ever get an advertiser, we got to get a sample of the products to try it.
Yeah.
If they won't send us a sample, I'll buy it myself. Because if it's something worthwhile, I have no problem selling that.
I really hope we never get a nut advertiser, because that would be really hard for me to sample.
Oh God.
It's like, I'll eat one, go into anaphylaxis, and I'll be like, I can guarantee they're nuts.
Damn. Yeah, what? It feels like peanut allergies really exploded over the last 20 years.
I'm actually not allergic to peanuts. I'm allergic to every other nut.
Tree nuts?
Weird.
Yeah, it's just a tree nut allergy.
My cousin has a tree nut allergy.
It seems to have exploded in populations, and I've heard it attributed to kids consuming way too many antibiotics in their food, so they don't develop certain resistances that would lead to you not being allergic to peanuts or nuts or whatever. Who knows?
I mean, perhaps, yeah. All I
Yeah.
know is that I can't eat pecan pie. So.
You're not missing out.
You're not missing out.
I've heard it's lit. My grandmother makes a mean pecan pie, but
it's old people pie, dude. It's not good.
Oh, it's old Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But never
Seth,
mind.
what's your favorite type of cookie?
Probably snickerdoodle or peanut butter.
Okay,
Snickerdoodle
peanut butter is a
is good.
solid choice.
Okay.
I'm an oatmeal raisin man myself.
I
Okay,
enjoy good
oatmeal raisin is fine. I used to
the
not like
old
it when I was a
guard, as
kid.
they call us.
The old guard.
My mom makes this like
Old not in terms of tradition, but in terms of age.
Yeah. Yeah.
my mom makes like these cookies. Our family calls them danger cookies. I think they're technically called ranger cookies. They have like oats and I don't even know what the ingredients are. It's like Rice Krispies and like so they've got kind of like a crunch to them, a crisp to them.
Interesting.
But they've got a really really good flavor. But like I think they're called ranger cookies. But my mom, when she was a kid, she would make them like with her mom or her grandma. And my mom, being one of 5 siblings, always got teased by her brothers and sisters, and they would all call them danger cookies instead of ranger cookies whenever my mom would make them.
Nice. Dude, have you ever heard of pemmican?
No.
Apparently, like human hunters back in the day would make this
I
mixture.
have heard of this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this mixture of fats and berries, really high in nutrient stuff that, due to the way it's produced, it rarely ever spoils. So they would make this crazy mixture and just take it out of a leather pouch and eat it during the middle of a hunt while they're out running a deer.
Well, like, have you heard of a 2,000 calorie bar?
No.
It's like a survivalist bar, and it's like this about the size of a candy bar, maybe even a little smaller, but it has 2,000 calories in it. Yeah, so it's like you can eat it, and you've got your whole day's worth of calories.
There was an episode of Archer where he crash lands in the Pacific. And he eats all of those ration bars. And
Oh, yeah.
He's like, these candy bars suck.
I do remember that.
Yeah, so I guess I have heard of these ration bars.
Yeah, they used to sell them at gun shows.
Yeah,
Really?
I'm familiar with the modern version of that, like the 2,000 calorie bar. I knew that they had that. I didn't realize it was such an ancient tradition though.
Yeah, it goes back a long time. Hunters had to preserve their food somehow.
I mean, that makes sense.
So your body heat is what would cause it to clump together and become really sticky and preservative.
Yeah, that's kind of gross, but awesome.
Yeah, pretty gross.
I doubt it was a good food. I don't think you ate it for the taste.
It was a good food in that it provided the nutrients you needed for the hunt.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't sit down and eat a plate of that with a fork and a knife. Just
I don't think people back then were really eating food for the taste anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to know when humans started choosing foods based on tastes, like based on what tasted good to them and not. I guess probably when agriculture.
We always did to a sense. Like you wanted to, like certain flavors indicate danger. So if something's like rotted or if it's poisonous, you'll come across some natural flavors that the humans avoided.
I guess I was thinking more along the lines of when do we start like choosing preferences in what animals we eat and that sort of thing. I guess it makes most sense that it would probably happen around like the growth, like the blossom of agricultural life when we started just becoming more sedentary and
once you can produce like a base stock of wheat, you have enough hunters to provide protein.
Right.
At that point, people can split off and do other things.
Yeah,
you can have a bakery, you can have a brewer,
I think I've talked about this before on the pod, but there's a lot of theories that society exists to brew beer.
Yeah.
Like we originally settled down and started agriculture so we could grow grains to brew beer.
They helped the Sumerians bond and come together.
Society might only exist because of beer.
Yeah, yeah.
You'd like to believe that.
I keep society alive. Okay, I don't have a drinking problem. Okay, you
are-
guys have an antisocial problem.
Yeah.
You are a progenitor of society.
Yes.
The beer and sports. You understand it.
I'm.
You are a true human.
Seth, how much?
I am the cultural zeitgeist.
How
okay?
much would you pay what do you think a fair price to go to the Coliseum would have been? If we were to compare, translate to today's money.
Fight in the Coliseum or to watch a...
To go attend. Not front row seats. We're talking with the plebs in the back.
Probably as much as a football game. I mean, that's modern day.
I would say it's probably more expensive, more like an Olympic.
I don't know how much.
I would say it's more
or maybe
closer
like
to going
like
to
a
the
boxing
Olympics.
match or something like that.
How much is a ticket for one of those? I honestly don't know.
In the
For a
hundreds
football
of
game?
dollars.
Yeah.
In like the bad seats, it's sub $100. You're probably paying like $50, $60, something like that. It's been a long time since I've been to a football.
So you
game,
think it
though.
would be less than a day's wage to go to the Coliseum?
Yeah, in the bad seats, yeah. Because think about how many people that can hold. I mean,
A lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like populations were lower back then. I mean, I think you were actually allowed to go to the Coliseum for free.
You could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a social kind of thing, I think. It was like a...
Imagine being an urban Roman and you just like do taxes. And while you're doing this, multiple legions are on the frontier, paving the way for the Roman Empire. That had to have been pretty crazy to be a city folk even back then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Kind of weird.
I'd be interested to know the dynamic between like the people who would come back from campaigns of war and interact with city folk like that.
Yeah.
Probably be pretty interesting. Just this cultural, such sharp cultural contrasts.
Though there was the expectation that you would send at least one son to partake in the wars of the empire. That level of participation, I don't know if it really exists anymore. Because even though the US has a volunteer army, usually it's lower class people who end up in the military.
Either lower class people or people who have significant family history of military service already.
Yeah, yeah. But there's not that expectation that everyone sends one son to the front if things get bad, you know?
So I kind of like what the IDF does or like what Israel does, where every single person has to.
And yeah, and the another upside of that is that you have to imagine that there's probably relatively few negligent dischargers. It's a country where everyone knows how to operate a firearm. So you're
And
gonna have less kids shooting themselves in the face. You know?
everyone is required to have a firearm in their home, right? Or is that
I know they do
that's
that.
That's Switzerland.
that's Switzerland?
I know
Yeah.
they do it in Switzerland and maybe Finland too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm not sure about Finland. I know Switzerland. You're required to have. I think you're required to have a gun that has at least 6 shots and is of a certain caliber.
at least 6 shots.
Yeah.
There's states in the US where they max out at like 5 or 10.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Here you can't have more than 10.
Do they really try to argue that the founding fathers had no idea technology would come and make automatic weapons
Well,
when the puckle gun already existed?
what I love is that argument when you apply it to any other
Part
amendment.
of the
Yeah,
Constitution.
sounds ridiculous. It's like, well, freedom of press. They certainly didn't imagine the internet. They only had printing press.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't
It's-
allow people to keep having free press when they can get information so quickly.
Dude, like the founding fathers expected you, like people in coastal states, to own their own battleships, basically.
Yeah.
And that was totally fine. To own a cannon back then was commonplace. It was nothing. It wasn't out of the ordinary to have your own artillery installation.
Okay, but the best amendment by far is the third. I love how useless it is. The third amendment's the one that says during times of peace, the government cannot quarter soldiers
Yeah.
in their home. Right? Okay. I mean, they weren't
Was
going-
that was that happening a lot?
Yeah, I mean,
It must have
It
been.
was, yeah. No, they did that in Boston.
yeah, the British would quarter their troops among Americans or colonists at the time. And people weren't too happy about that. And
Yeah.
I can understand why.
Yeah, if like one day like a Marine just knocked on my door and was like, "Okay, I live here now. Where should I stay?" I'd be like, "No, you don't."
Yeah.
It's like, "Thank you for your service. I'll give you a beer, but please leave eventually."
Yeah, dude. Or what about in the 13th Amendment, where it bans slavery except in the case of prisoners?
Yeah, which is like, okay, that's a giant
That's
loophole.
totally allowed.
Yeah.
That's how
the
how
entire
Kamala Harris got a whole bunch of prisoners to fight forest fires.
Yeah, the entire prison industrial complex is pretty much like legalized slavery.
Yeah, dude. Profiting off the suffering of human beings.
These people are
How
making like
noble.
$1 a day, maybe.
If
Like
that.
if that.
It's ridiculous, man. Is the system supposed to be reformative or it's supposed to be punitive?
I mean, they keep going back and forth.
Bless you. Because that's where you find, in the gray areas, where you find a whole bunch of abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a pretty sight. Like what percentage of the U.S. population has been incarcerated?
I
think-
it's
I think it's like
Close.
No, it's 1%.
1%.
1%, but that's still 33 million people.
Yeah.
But I think I saw a statistic that said that it's something like 14% of young black men are incarcerated.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah,
That doesn't. Yeah.
which is just insane.
Yeah, dude. Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
I'm going to point out that it's the black man who said that, not me.
It's math that said that. That's just statistics. You know, if it's it's a lot like it's how I think about words and censorship, right? At the end of the day, someone saying something offensive is just causing reverberations in their throat that pass sound waves to your eardrums.
Right.
At which point you hear something and it is up to you to interpret what you've heard. if you want to take it as an insult, or if you want to take it personally, that's on you. But you can't really blame the
You
reverberation of
you wouldn't
of
blame
sound
the
waves.
rain for the sound it makes on hitting the roof of your car or whatever, like the thunder for clapping in the sky. So
Yeah,
it's just noise. It's
it's just another form of stimulus, and you choose how you react to it.
But I mean, we are humans living in a society. We understand that words have meanings.
Yes.
I mean, that's
as
how we're
much
able to
meaning as you
communicate.
give it, though.
Yeah, as much meaning as you give it.
Uh, yeah. I mean, I see your point. I
At the
still
end of the
think
day,
I still think.
it's just sound waves.
I mean, I'm trust me, I'm not against people getting all offended over speech, but we also, I mean, I can judge speech because I have a large frontal cortex. I'm able to understand speech.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying about that. I mean, it's not
You
just
you
sound
and
reverberations; they have meanings.
well, part of learning to speak a language is learning to interpret what those reverberations in the throat mean.
Yeah,
And once you do that, you can choose to play it off purely on the social understanding of the word, or you could choose to work in your own biases as well. At which point, you're kind of flavoring the soup at that point.
yeah. No, okay. See, that I think is a better point than what you were saying about the reverberations.
That's all it is.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
literally all it is.
but you have
Just
to
as
accept
you're
you have
just
to
as
accept
you're
the
a
difference
collection
between
of cells.
biases and actual meanings.
Agreed
the more-
agreed upon meanings.
Yeah, agreed upon
'Cause
meanings versus the bias
in something
meanings
as
that you
fluid
create.
as language, it's hard to say if there's an actual meaning because you can interpret a word however you want, and then if enough people agree with your interpretation, bingo, the
That's
word
the
means
word.
something entirely different.
Okay, I think we might be coming at this at different levels. You're coming at it more metaphysically than I am.
Well, of course I would. That's
Yeah.
my degree.
My degree is in taking things very literally.
Okay, yeah, that's going to be very very different. I don't know. I just don't understand getting worked up over someone else's words.
Oh no, absolutely. I entirely agree.
Why give them the power?
What about Kim? What about words that you're reading that like somebody types on a message where it's not verbal? It's not just reverberations. You're reading it and processing it in a different way than just listening.
Well, you have to take into an account what cultural norms existed when the person wrote it, right? It's not just the words I'm reading today, interpreting them based on today's standard. There's also the historical aspect as well,
True.
right? But you're right. When anyone who shares a language agrees on certain basic principles, the sound that an A makes, even though it can change based on locality, but you get what I mean, right?
Right.
Where it's hard to say what elements exactly are set in stone and what aren't.
Yeah,
Because language changes every day.
Yeah, that it does.
I mean, just the lingo people use today as opposed to just 10 years ago is different.
Yeah, very different. Very different.
The super annoying XD roar phase of
What is
2009.
Yeah.
Different times, man.
XD.
We went through a financial crisis back then too.
Yeah.
I think this one's gonna be
I think it's
a
worse.
million times worse.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
Great Depression levels of worse.
Yeah. Not
'Cause
surprised.
The predictions for where this inflation's going, nowhere good.
I mean, it's just
Put it
absurdly
lightly.
high.
Yeah.
It is just absurd how high it is.
And it doesn't seem like Biden's going to stop the spending anytime soon. In fact, he just doubled down with another $6 trillion spending bill.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but I mean that's not helping.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, we need to when the first stimulus bill was being proposed and Trump was like, just cut the fat. Just get me the stuff that gets money into the pockets of Americans, period, and I'll sign it. That's what every president should do. We don't need to assign money to send over to Pakistan, Do we really have to do that during a pandemic?
But how's Israel going to get that $500 million?
And the thing is, during this past conflict, this Gaza conflict, we got to see where the money goes. It goes to the Iron Dome. because apparently each one of those Iron Dome missiles is something like $80,000, and the average cost
That's
of
a car.
a Hamas rocket about 800. So the what it costs to protect civilians in Israel. Forget about attacking Hamas positions. Just to protect the population from rocket strikes is absurdly expensive. And the thing is, Iron Dome is as cheap as it gets for that level of protection.
Yeah.
So, when you're really counting the numbers down to the bullets, down to the rockets and missiles, it gets pricey. Very pricey. And the Iron Dome worked rather well.
Quite well.
Like a 90% interception rate.
Yeah, which is actually amazing.
For hundreds and hundreds of rockets that were launched.
Yeah, I think it was between 4,000 and 5,000 rockets in the past conflict.
Jesus.
If Hezbollah goes to war, they're bringing something like 50,000 rockets. They've been stocking up for a decade, just getting ready. Iran.
You think the Iron Dome will handle it?
No.
Especially after this last attack. I mean,
it will.
Short.
It'll certainly intercept a high percentage of rockets, but the amount of rockets that go in if Iran wants a full-on war using their proxies against Israel, I don't think any defense system, rather than a literal Iron Dome, will block those out.
Yeah. Even a literal Iron Dome.
The sun will be blotted out by the number of rockets if Hezbollah gets involved.
What are the chances that they do?
Well, I didn't expect Hamas to, and they did. And if both are receiving their funding from Iran, it's not looking pretty.
Yeah.
That last conflict was just a dry run. What comes next is the real conflict for Jerusalem. Iran wants to capture Jerusalem, which is going to be interesting. We're going to have to see what the Sunni Muslims think of that. To have the Shias in control of the Holy Land, that's a whole other conflict in itself.
Yeah.
So, well, is that really the holiest land in Islam? I thought Mecca and Medina would be more important.
Well, there's the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is pretty important.
It's like the third holiest place in Islam.
Yeah.
Okay. Because to the Jews and the Christians, it's
to
the
Sunnis.
To Sunnis, yeah.
To the Shia, they have a whole different set of religious sites.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever seen the holiday Ashura? What people do to celebrate Ashura?
No, I've not.
People go out into the street and self-flagellate. But these aren't just whips. These are whips with basically knives taped onto the back. And people just go to work on their back, dude. It's crazy.
That's fucked up.
It's insane. And I heard that for like really hardcore Christian monks, the flagellation would lead to micro-infections, which would cause them to trip balls as their immune system goes into overdrive. And that's part of how they received their visions.
Damn, that's intense.
Through pain intoxication.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they were super hardcore.
Yeah, I mean, I like getting high, but I'm not gonna fucking beat myself to do it.
Yeah.
Shit.
I'm trying to remember if Ashura was to commemorate the death of Hussein at the Battle of Karbala. Supposedly that's when the Shia-Sunni split happened.
I thought the Sunni-Shia split was over believing that the fourth guy should have been the first guy.
That is. The Shia, I think, if I remember correctly, literally means follower of Ali. And Ali was
his nephew or something.
He may have been a nephew.
Oh, okay.
May have been a nephew. But it was either he was supposed to take charge or someone else did, and that's where the split occurred. But it was at the Battle of Karbala where the first blood was spilled between the Shia and the Sunni.
Oh, okay.
And I think Ashura maybe to commemorate that battle. But I could be totally wrong. It could go back to the Persian and even Zoroastrian tradition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which actually, do you know in the Serbian, or not Serbian, I don't know how that came to mind. I think the Iranian legislature, there are 3 seats guaranteed: one for Jews, one for Christians, and one for Zoroastrians.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so as a people of the book, it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, but Zoroastrians aren't really people of the book.
They're monotheists. That's
They are.
good. That's good enough.
Yeah, it's close. Yeah, they're not Hindus.
It's
You
good
know,
They're
enough.
not Hindus.
which is
Yeah.
crazy to me. I was thinking about that recently. How weird it is that there's still a polytheistic religion in the modern day.
It's from a theological standpoint, it's arguable if Hinduism is a polytheistic religion.
Because technically, they're all one god called Brahman.
They're all, depending
What
on your
about
interpretation,
Shintoism?
they're all aspects. Shintoism is very, just like Zoroastrianism, the paradigm between light and dark, between clean and unclean, is very prominent in Shintoism.
That's true.
Yeah. So for Hinduism, if every object has a unique soul, but each soul is a reflection of Brahma, then that complicates the polytheism monotheism argument.
Yeah, because then you could argue that Christianity was polytheistic because of
You
the
could.
Trinity. You know,
could.
which I think there are some people that do try to make that argument, which
And
is
some
not
people
true.
who
They're
are
all the
very
Lord.
unhappy to hear that
Yeah.
argument.
Well. I would be. Yeah, they're all the Lord.
Well,
Yeah.
Why do they have 3 different names then?
It's a very complicated theological question, Jake.
Dude, that's if I could attend any one historical event, it would absolutely be the Council of Nicaea, where they went through every reported, report on Jesus, every newspaper clipping, if you will, to compile it all down to what will be in the Bible and what won't be. And I want to hear everything that was cut.
You don't want to go to the actual crucifixion?
No, this is
To
more
watch some
interesting to
dude
me.
get stabbed? No.
Well,
You can watch that on YouTube.
I mean, I want to see what actually happened.
Some dude was strapped up to a giant piece of wood
That's-
and stuck with a pike.
What actually happened isn't as
Okay.
important to me as the historical ramifications of what happened.
I
Yeah.
think what actually happened
Because at the Council of Nicaea,
seems pretty important.
the Council of Nicaea is what led to the Protestant split. It led to that when they decided certain things about the identity of Christ at the Council of Nicaea.
Okay, yeah, I see your point.
It was
there.
the starting point for the religious bureaucracy that became the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
So to see what was chosen and what wasn't chosen and why it wasn't chosen,
That would be
I think
super
would be
interesting.
monumental for the world. And I'm willing to bet somewhere in the Vatican's like huge archives, they have the first the first draft of the Bible, if you will.
Yeah.
Of everything from the Gnostic Gospels to the Dead Sea Scrolls, all of it.
I feel like something bad is eventually going to happen to the Vatican Library, just like the Library at Alexandria. I feel like there's so much stuff in there that I just don't see it ever coming.
Dude,
I feel like it's more likely that it'll get destroyed before it'll ever come to light.
Maybe, but Catholicism has proven to be incredibly resistant to time. The hierarchy still stands. Even did you remember when the French decided to launch their own papacy, their own knockoff shoes?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. The schism.
the Avignon papacy, I
Yeah.
think it was.
Yeah, because the Pope didn't like the Franks, so they were like, "Fuck it, we have our own
We'll
Pope.
do our own pope. Fine.
Do our own Pope."
That's like the Chinese taking away saying we're going to have our own Dalai Lama.
Yeah, it's a lot like that. A lot like that.
And they actually require by law that the Dalai Lama reincarnate.
Yeah.
They're like, legally you must reincarnate.
You have to
they really tried to do that.
And
Yeah.
and it has to be a Chinese person.
Yeah, it cannot be a Tibetan. It has to be a Han Chinese. You have to like. How are you going to tell a guy who, if you believe in his religion, is like near a god to do something?
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. I saw this part of my religious studies minor. One of my classes, we watched this video on how they choose who the next Dalai Lama is going to be, or not even just the Dalai Lama, all the lamas in general, because the lamas have the ability to choose their reincarnation, or even whether to reincarnate at all.
They choose the Panchen Lama, right? And then the Panchen Lama is the one that identifies the new Dalai Lama.
I think so.
Mhm.
Yeah. So part of the discovery process is they have to go through a whole bunch of children who go through the trial of trying to identify the personal items of the past Dalai Lama. And it seems like, regardless of if the kid is actually the one, they go through so much training and building of mental fortitude that at the end of the day, you end up with a very strong,
strong, mentally sound person.
equality loving person, someone who can see the good in all things, whether they're the Buddha or not. It's interesting.
Strong evidence for the versus nature.
I don't know if this is actually real, but in the video, they cremate one of the former lamas, and there was pearls in his ashes. I don't know how real that is, but if it is real, that's weird.
That is
like
really
the types of
weird.
powers that a lama is granted.
Wow,
it's crazy.
I kind of hope that is real, honestly.
It seems really cool, man.
I'm gonna choose to believe that that's real in my head. That when a Dalai Lama when a lama is, when just a llama, when just the animal is incinerated, they have pearls on the inside.
That's actually how pearl farming is done.
People think they come from clams, but really they come from llama.
That's
llama incineration.
That's just big pearl covering that up.
Yeah, the big pearl industry.
Dude, the paths that the migrants will take to travel to all the holy sites, it's like from the center of India all the way up into the Himalayan mountains, man. It goes all over the place. Crazy. Apparently there's some like legendary mountain pool up in the Himalayas that has like 300 skeletons in it.
I've heard about this, I think.
And one of the theories is that because it's along one of the migration paths to the sites, that random hailstorms would come out of nowhere, club people over the head with like fist-sized balls of ice, knock them cold, and they fall into the river and drown.
Wow.
Yeah. Because they found body parts. They found body parts at various states of decay, but it indicates that multiple bodies would show up in a group, somehow take damage to the head, and then end up in the water. They didn't know if it was sacrificial, if mountain bandits took them. Do you know where the word thug comes from?
No.
It is a racialized term, but not for black people necessarily. It started from the practice of thuggee. That was this practice by Indian mountain bandits who would kidnap people, take them into the woods or up into the mountain, and then execute them and take their jewelry. That's where the term thug comes from.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Couldn't you just take their jewelry? Why do you gotta kill them?
I don't know. To leave a mystery at the bottom of a mountain pool 400 years later. I don't know.
Somebody's gonna find this body 400 years from now and not know anything about it.
Someone's gonna be really confused a long time from now.
If I ever become a serial killer, I hope that I just make weird mysteries for historians. Like I'm gonna do like weird shit. Like I'm gonna put a bunch of bodies inside of like a skyscraper. They'll find a bunch of bones in the walls when they're renovating.
Interestingly, what's harder to design is something that will be understandable thousands of years from now. Like there's a whole bunch of nuclear engineers whose main path of work is figuring out how to design signs that people post English, post even our human understanding of the environment, that people thousands and thousands of years down the line will still be able to tell this area is radioactive. I need to avoid it. And that whole study of, I guess it's also a sociological study as well, trying to figure out what signs persist throughout history that indicate danger.
Bright colors.
There was one where they wanted to make a breed of cat that glows when exposed to radiation, and they would start selling a whole bunch of books that have this kid's tale of the cat that glows indicating danger, because some of the things that have lasted the longest are fairy tales and folk tales.
That's actually good too.
Yeah, there's also one person suggested making like a whole religion out of it.
Yeah,
because if you want something to last a long time, a religion.
Some people, they also thought that they would show signs of physical danger, so like make it really sharp outcroppings that look like somewhere you wouldn't go. But of course, in the human mind, that's where the treasure is.
Or also, it's
X marks the spot. And
Yeah.
it's just like a skull and crossbones.
also if you like urban exploration, it's like that's the first fucking place I'm going. That's awesome. What's beyond the spike field?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Death is beyond the spike field.
Dude, I heard that a lot of the ways that the Ark of the Covenant is portrayed in the Bible is very similar to a nuclear engine of some kind. That the light, that if you see the
I
light of
actually
the
watched a
covenant,
video on
just as
this.
if you see, say, the blue flash
Mhm.
when something goes super critical, that flash of light could be interpreted as holy light, and of course you die horribly in a week. Kind of like what happens when people are exposed to the Ark of the Covenant if they don't die immediately.
I watched a video on that like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'll just have to go back and see if I can find it because I remember that being super
It's
interesting.
pretty compelling.
Yeah,
I mean, the effects of radiation.
I mean, besides the point of how did they get a nuclear reactor or some kind of like nuclear something that's reaching supercritical
Yeah.
temperatures, but yeah, besides that little bit of
Because, Seth, think about the demon core, right? Where if you take the top off, that's when things tend to get bad, right? Or what if it closes entirely?
when it closes entirely.
There's a lot of trigger mechanisms like that for releasing control rods and stuff inside of nuclear power plants. I wonder if the same kind of control method existed in the Ark of the Covenant engine.
I'm religious. I'm pretty sure it just had to do with the Ten Commandments.
Radiation is one of God's great blessings. He created the sun and the scientists who interpreted it.
You're not wrong. but
It's all religion.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair point, but still, I think it's the ark that holds the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
I mean, what
you
better
guys-
way to keep
what
people
if-
away from the Ten Commandments than to make it radioactive?
That's
Yeah.
a fair point. Yeah. You guys hear about that Ethiopian Coptic church that claims to have the Ark of the Covenant, and
Actually, that sounds familiar.
and their priests die like they after a year of watching over it, they all go blind and die.
Sounds
Yeah,
like radiation
that
poisoning.
sounds- Yeah.
That's not how radiation poisoning.
No, I
works.
Well,
But we don't know that they actually have it. They
it's
just
like
claim to
Indiana
have it.
Jones, and you're not supposed to stare at it. It's your job to watch over it. Who knows,
Yeah.
Dude, the Coptic religion, it's very interesting. Because there was a point where in the world, I think there was like 4 or 5 separate popes.
Yeah.
You had the
And-
Roman Catholic Pope. You had the Coptic Pope. You had, who's the head of the Orthodox Church?
The patriarch.
The Patriarch, who's kind of like a pope.
Well, technically, the Roman Catholic Pope isn't actually called the Pope.
What's he called?
I think like the pontificate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like a bloodborne boss.
Yeah, it does.
The
Actually,
pontificate. Do you find it weird that they all start with P? Pontificate, Pope, Patriarch.
Papacy. I guess that's still.
Yeah, it's still Pope.
well,
Maybe it comes,
comes-
from paternal.
yeah, it all comes from the father.
Yeah.
The father. So maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah, I know. Like the Coptic Church is one of the oldest continuous churches because in
Yeah.
the Bible, Jesus meets, or I think it's Jesus meets an Ethiopian traveler
Yeah,
who tells him to go back and spread the religion, spread the faith.
yeah. When did Coptic Christians get relatively big? Because they were never super popular.
Well, I mean,
There
Coptic
was an
Christ-
era where
in
Coptic
Ethiopia,
Christianity was
they've been
pretty
around
important.
since about 0.
Mm.
I mean, they've been around for a long time. They've
yeah.
been
Did
around-
you know they invented the straight hilted sword
I did not know
out
that.
of the image of the image of the
Yeah,
cross?
I know that's why Crusaders used it because it looks like a cross.
Yeah, but they originally got that idea, the straight hilted sword, apparently from the Coptic Christians in Ethiopia.
Very odd. Very cool.
Yeah,
You gotta admit, the straight hilted sword does look fucking awesome.
It is.
it does.
Survive the test of time.
Do you know the hand? Do you know the hand and a half method?
I know that phrase, but
When
Is that the one where you kind of push it forward? Oh no, that's the one
No.
where you hold it.
you hold the
Yes,
blade,
yeah.
and you ram it into the enemy's armor if he's wearing plate armor, because you got to break through it somehow.
Yeah.
There was also this technique called ending someone righteously, where you flip your sword, you hold the blade, and you beat
Oh,
him over
yeah.
the helmet with the pommel
I'm
until you
familiar
beat
with
his
that.
skull in.
That happened
Honorably.
That happened later
That's,
on. That
that's
happened
ending
later.
a man righteously.
Righteously.
That happened later because armor was getting so strong and so thick that by then swords just could not make any sort of
Oh,
dent, even if you were slamming it. So really, they were just turning their swords into warhammers because they had these giant.
Dude,
pommels,
imagine being a
counterbalances.
knight and your horse gets slayed and you just flop over and you can't even get up and just a million peasants crawl over you like ants and start whacking away at you. It's got to be brutal.
It's not even.
I would just
it's-
beg them, take off the armor. Just take off the armor and stab me. Please.
Yeah, 'cause,
Yeah.
I mean, when you're in armor, that's not a 1 or 2 hit kill or even consciousness. That's
The better the
many-
armor, the longer the suffering.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can just imagine how much those peasants love the
Love to beat on some armor.
Especially like it's like this person that's like higher than me.
yeah
I get
Yeah.
to
the chance
show
for
them.
retribution in the field.
Yeah.
It was probably not very pretty. It reminds
No.
me of in World War Z, there was one chapter about members of the French government and military who were assigned with clearing out the catacombs. But because it was such close quarter fighting, they would wear essentially chainmail so the zombies couldn't bite them. But the floor would collapse all the time due to the weight of their equipment. And you would just be trapped underwater with zombies everywhere. And it's not like they're going to bite through and kill you. It's a matter of how long your air supply lasted. And it was a very good chapter. Terrifying.
That sounds
Absolutely
terrifying.
terrifying,
Yeah.
dude.
Dude, the movie was so much worse than the book.
You remember when he stops for the was it Coke or a Pepsi?
In
When
the
he-
movie?
Yeah, he breaks into the lab, and during the middle of a zombie chase, he like finds a Coke machine. And he goes and gets a Coke. And it's so blatant that it's an advertisement. It was incredible.
Oh my god.
It stuck with me more than the rest of the plot of that movie because it sucked. Oh, you remember when the scientist guy they were working with tries to get off of the plane and he trips and shoots himself in the face?
Yes.
And he's the one
Yeah.
person who knows the cure?
What kind of plot device is that?
It's literally, how do we get to the next set piece? It doesn't matter how stupid it is. Let's
Oh
just
my
keep this thing rolling.
God.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Because if they'd actually done true to the book, that would have been
The
great.
book
would-
is excellent.
I would love to
And
hear
it's-
the conversation that took place in like the writers' room. Okay, so how are we gonna get to the next? Let's just have the scientist fall and shoot himself.
Yeah. Dude, the book is paced exactly like an HBO series.
Which would be great if
work in
HBO
an
picked it up.
episodic format
Yeah.
so well.
Because it's not one cohesive story. It's a bunch of disconnected stories.
Dude, if you want to watch one of the only times I've ever watched like Comic-Con interview or whatever, it's Max Brooks, the guy who wrote World War Z, talking about the release of the movie. He has some choice words for the film.
I bet.
Basically, it's like at the end of the day, I didn't come up with this character of Jerry whatever, played by
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt. I didn't come up with this character. I didn't come up with this plot. The really only connection between me and this movie I had nothing to do with is the name.
Yeah.
And that's a damn shame because as a property, World War Z deserved a lot better. Well, that's
Yeah, what are we doing on time?
about 2 hours.
Yeah, we should call it wraps there, man.
Yeah.
Let's do an outro. Jake, do you want to do the outro?
Is there a format for this?
Nope. We have no formats.
No format.
For the few of you out there, few and far between, thank you for listening. And this has been another episode of whatever the hell we decide to call this thing.
Yeah. And also I want to say, those of you who are listening a few years in the future, once we've made it big, this is how we started. We're just sitting in my bedroom.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game. All right, stay safe, folks. Till the next one.